Welcome back to our Christmas extravaganza. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me as always is Moonbeer.
Hello.
Last episode we watched Arthur Christmas, the surprisingly not sweet but not too sweet Arthur Christmas.
Charming.
Yeah,
Charming.
very very charming. This time we're gonna watch 2019's Klaus. That's Klaus with a K, as the Netflix film. Notable for a few specific kind of impressive things that maybe are inside baseball, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. This is also the one you haven't seen. Is that right, Moon?
Correct. I
Okay.
haven't seen this one either.
So do you know anything about 2019's Klaus?
I know you like it
Mm-hmm.
because if memory serves, when it came out, you were banging on about it like you wouldn't shut up about it on the pre-show.
Blowing up
Um,
my Twitter about it. Yep.
uh-huh. And that is legitimately it.
Okay. So this features another banger of a voice cast. Jason Schwartzman, J.K. Simmons as not Santa Claus, wink. Rashida Jones, Will Sasso. Unfortunately, Norm Macdonald's final film role is
Oh,
Claus.
jeez.
Joan Cusack, like it's there, and there's also another section of like other people, and there's like 45 other people that were in this movie. Um, it is especially notable because it is traditionally animated. This is not a CG heavy sort of thing. It has a
Oh, nice.
very, very distinct style,
It's the
which
Princess and the Frog, where it's like, oh, look at all we can do with CG. Now we're going to go back to Coke original.
100% Princess and the Frog is so good too, man. If anyone hasn't watched that, go watch that movie.
I haven't seen that one either, by the
That's
way.
solid. That's a good movie. Um, So Claus is kind of notable for that. This is the directorial debut of Sergio Pablos, which is coming out of the gate pretty hot on this one. Um, if you're an animation nerd like me, you might recognize the name James Baxter. He was one of the animators on this film, which is extremely notable. If you haven't heard of James Baxter, he is probably one of the most prolific and like disgustingly talented animators out there. Um, he animated Ariel in The Little Mermaid. That was one of his first roles. Um,
Okay.
yeah, hand drawn, by the way. And then kind of worked for Disney for a whole bunch on pretty much everything animated for a while. Then moved on to DreamWorks and just like knocked it out of the park for that. If you are a Adventure Time fan, you might notice James Baxter. His name is familiar as James Baxter the horse. That is oddly well animated in a show that's already fairly well animated. He did the animation for James Baxter the horse, which is really good. So James Baxter worked on this. There's a ton of behind the scenes, like pencil animation stuff that he's done. That once you've gone and watched this, I highly recommend. It's crazy how good he is and how fluid his stuff is. It's I don't know how he does it. Um, but this is another one where it's kind of a different take on Santa. It's definitely not like the North American Santa. It's not really the European Santa because I feel like those are the two Santa origin stories.
Mhm.
Santa's fighting helicopters out here, but it's a little bit different from that as a failed postman is banished to a terrible island, and then finds a reclusive toy maker named Claus, who is definitely not Santa. Wink.
Wink.
Um, yeah, it's one of those where you look at him and you're just like, "That's Santa, dude. That's Santa." You have a real "that's Chappie" moment. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure how much more to talk about Claus here at the beginning, other than it's a it's a genuinely really cool movie. Even if you don't super like where the story goes, I think you can at least enjoy, if not respect, the animation style.
Yeah.
We don't
You
see a lot
mentioned
of
Norm
this.
Macdonald. I totally forgot. I was like, why do I know that name?
Hmm.
It's because he's Yaphet in the Orville. That's how I know that name.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, one of his more recent voiceover or voice acting roles. Um, yeah. All right. Any stuff to chat about here before we go?
I mean, genuinely, it's going to be interesting to actually see. Like, I mean, I know this was a Netflix special. Do we know what source it came from? Because Netflix has got a lot of like,
This is an actual Netflix original. So
but I mean, which side of Netflix was it? Like Netflix America? Was it Netflix Europe? Netflix Asia? Because
I
Netflix have got a
believe
lot of studios that they work with now.
I believe it was Netflix America. So you sort of hit the nail on a thing that drives me crazy about Netflix, where it's like Netflix original, the Death Note movie, and it's like, no, you just licensed it to put it on Netflix. That's you didn't make that. Like someone that works for Netflix probably translated it, which is a thing in and of itself. But you can't just like put Netflix original on everything and say like, no, it's mine. I made it. This Japanese show. It's just like, no, you didn't. So I
Uh huh.
believe this was the like the head Netflix, the one in California.
Okay.
Yeah.
So probably an American developed one, which is cool because I know that they do like specifically like contract out a lot of work to different studios to do different things for different like Black Mirror, for example. That's a
Hmm.
Netflix original, but that's also a Netflix original produced and made in the UK, which is
Right.
why it's a specifically UK flavored show.
Well,
Um,
this one's a little bit more twisty because Sergio Pablos is a Spanish director coming from Madrid that made a studio, I believe, in Spain that
mhm.
Netflix uh, contracted his company to make this movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the writers is Jim Mahoney, who looks like he's an American,
Hmm.
who also works on the Orville.
Oh, interesting. I didn't see that.
He is Brusque on the Orville, whoever the hell Brusque is, I can't remember. And Zach Lewis, who also he might be Canadian. I don't know, but yeah, this looks like a multicultural stew, which is kind of interesting. I like this
Hmm.
kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's nice to not see. Here is an American made, family Lifetime channel, you know, saccharine fest. Trying not to swear. But yeah, I like when um I like when the different companies get to make their own take on Santa. It's not just the red coat and the hat and the ho ho ho.
Hmm.
You get to see some cool stuff coming out of some other studios. I think that's always worthwhile.
Yeah, you mean you're glad when you see something that's not the Coca-Cola Center?
100%. Yeah, yeah. The only Coca-Cola mascot I want to see is the polar bear sliding on his tummy. That's the good one. I don't need
Hmm.
Coca-Cola Santa. Yeah. All right. Should we go watch the film?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I'm actually very curious to see this because I don't have a lot of experience
Yeah.
with Christmas movies.
Yeah. All right. All right. Let's go watch it.
Bye. 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 Bye.
We're back. Welcome back. We have
Are
watched
we? Are we
Klaus.
really?
Not really. I mean, in body, not in spirit. Um, we're back here after watching the second of our two Christmas time non-saccharine movies. Um,
Mm-hmm.
this is probably the closest I'll get to a saccharine thing. Um, here with Klaus, as we have found his name is properly
So,
pronounced.
So you didn't deliberately, I'm assuming,
Hmm.
did not mention that this is basically the Santa origin story.
Right. It's very, yeah, very, very specifically. When Wolverine's claws come out, then you sort of figure it's an origin story.
Uh-huh.
Um,
I am
yeah, that,
Santa Claus. Press
yeah.
conference, photos, credits.
Wink. I am Santa Claus. Um, yeah, that's part of the reason why I kind of dig this movie is because it definitely does not seem like a Santa origin thing when it starts. Um, there's two big things I like about this movie. Um, well, I guess three. One is very obviously it's an incredible looking movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading some production notes from a studio. It was really interesting because they were exploring some traditional animation stuff because they wanted to avoid what they called stickers on a background, which is what they were calling like CG filmmaking,
Mm-hmm.
like CG kind of 2D filmmaking. I was like, man, that is an incredible burn on like every 2D animated movie. Um,
Yeah.
but I also like the sort of genuine origin story of Klaus and Jesper here. But I also like that part of how do I put this? The betterment of the town is almost by accident or in spite of Jesper.
Yeah, it's a byproduct of his plans.
Right. He's not trying to make the town better. He's just trying to get the hell out of there. And then like he turns around and the town is slowly getting better in kind of major and minor ways. And I kind of dig that
Mm.
it's not like he's, hands on hips looking around like, I'm going to fix this place. He's just like, I need to get out.
Yeah, I
Norm
want to go
MacDonald is
home
pissing me
because
off.
I am a spoiled rich kid.
Yeah, which is, it's a really great introduction. I really like in the intro
I
where,
immediately hated him, by the way. Like
yeah,
in that introduction sequence, it's like, eh.
it's a very good Emperor's New Groove intro where it's just like, you are just the worst sort of rich person. My God.
Yep.
Yeah, Jesper's way into crypto as he's checking this out. But I really like the intro section where yeah.
His stamps are NFTs. Thank you very
Oh
much.
God, probably. I really like in the intro where they're the like Postmaster General is sliding that little piece all the way across the map, and like all of them are very curious where he's gonna go in a
Yeah.
Smearensburg, which is a perfect name for this like crap hole of a town.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, I
And I
God.
like the boatman. Like the boatman is like
Hmm.
he is probably the best slash worst person in the entire thing
Norm Macdonald
because
is a perfect voice for this dude.
yeah, because like he takes him there and then he's like, oh yeah, just go ring that bell.
It's the welcoming bell.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Find out very quickly it's the battle bell, which
Yeah.
is a good piece of work when he's like, what town has a battle bell? Um, you get pretty
Uh-huh.
quickly introduced to the fight between the Ellingbows and the Crumbs, both of which are really good names for these kind of like dirty, gross family clans.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't really say it's the Capulets and the Montagues now, could he?
That's right. It's a little too obvious.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, you're introduced to that. He gets introduced to the town. He gets his living quarters. He meets the teacher in the town, Alva, who is a fishmonger to kind of make ends meet because nobody is sending their kid to school.
Yeah, and Joan Cusack as well.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent, excellent voice cast in this.
Yeah. Rashida Jones, I believe, is Alva. Joan
Oh
Cusack
yes, Joan
is,
Cusack's the leader of the ladies.
yeah, she's really good. Like when she's given the business to the other clan leader, where it's like, how have we never defeated you? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are these plans? Um, And he does eventually meet Klaus, voiced by J.K. Simmons, who does not his usual voice, which is kind of refreshing. It's not get me
Yeah,
those
I did not.
Spider-Man
I
photos.
didn't. I didn't clock this was J.K. Simmons until like after the movie, and I was like, "Oh, okay, yep, there it is. There's the
Right.
credits. There's J.K. Simmons. Now I hear it."
Yeah, putting it all together. Yeah, he does this kind of cool, subdued delivery. Um, and I like that Jasper comes up with this plan. He needs 6,000 letters mailed
Hmm.
to leave. None of these kids have toys. There's a toy maker over here. I'm going to put it all together. And he figures out
He
that,
only he only comes up with that though because the one kid draws a sad drawing of himself trapped in behind bars like
right,
Rapunzel,
right.
and then Klaus just is like, "Yeah, go deliver this kid a toy to make him happy."
Hmm. Yeah, but he's very distinctly not a toy maker, which you find out is a pretty sad story later. Because, of course, it has
Yeah,
to be. Um,
yeah,
yeah, so he comes up with the plan of, we'll mail all these letters off to Klaus, and he's going to deliver a toy to all these kids. Klaus smartly puts Jesper to work going in the chimneys of the houses instead of him.
yeah.
Just some pretty good montages.
Yeah, I like the montages, and I like the mystery of Klaus montage that happens as well at the same time.
Yep. Where Jesper's like, wait a minute. Who's
Huh?
been delivering all this? He's just like, all right, don't
Wait,
even.
he's magic. He fits down every, even despite how big he is, he fits down every single like chimney, and then it's like him going through like the most awkward chimney holes ever.
I like the one where he goes down like the oven and he has to open. He's like fish his arm out to unlock it to open it, and he's still twisted up in there. Like that's a real.
Hmm.
There's a lot of really great little shots in this movie. Like none of the animations are super over the top. Jesper is probably the most over the top one, but there's a couple of shots here and there where it's like, all right, that was you came up with kind of a fun little thing here. Also, special note for Jason Schwartzman for voicing Jesper in kind of a different
Yes.
role than usual, but I feel like does a pretty good job.
Yeah, definitely. It's strange. Like like hearing his voice when I think the first time I ever saw him was I Believe in Wallabies or whatever it was, that weird
Okay,
movie with Mark Wahlberg that came out in like the late 90s.
I Heart
I
Huckabees.
That's the
Okay,
one.
that's a good movie to see him in.
And like that's pretty much the only thing I've ever really seen him in. Like I've seen him in bits and pieces here and there. Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yeah, that was the
Um,
one I was going to bring up, where everyone knows him as Gideon
yes.
in Scott
Yeah,
Pilgrim,
the final
the evil ex-boyfriend, the evil
yes.
ex-boyfriend. Put the wrong
And
emphasis.
weirdly enough, I'll be talking this week on our main show about a video game that Jason Schwartzman is a voice in.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Spoiler alert for the past for you guys and for the future for Boston.
right, right. Um, yeah. So eventually, the plan here gets so successful that Klaus is running out of toys. And this is when Jesper's saying, like, look, man, I just need a little bit more. Like, I'm so close to getting out off of this deserted hellhole of an island. Like, I just need you to make some toys.
Hmm.
And then Klaus very clearly says no and is not going to budge. Klaus and Jesper make a sled for the Margu, the little
Yes,
the
which
little
is so cute every time she shows up, and she
shiz.
just starts speaking in her native tongue, and nobody understands her.
Yeah, yeah, it's very good. Um, then Klaus tells Jesper about his wife and the like genuinely heartbreaking story of, yeah, we're married and kept waiting for those kids. That's not gonna
Mm-hmm.
happen. Oh, she died. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Um, so it's kind of I think it's a genuinely very sweet scene where Klaus eventually figures out that this is what this is what I should have been doing all along, which is
Mm.
making the toys for these kids, making these kids happy. Then they come up with a plan just in time for Christmas, which is
Yeah.
wink. Um,
Wink.
yeah, I like that the Sami people come and help Santa and Jesper build all this stuff. Um,
Yes. A true selfless act always sparks another.
yeah, which is like I feel like if this movie wasn't so earnest, I feel like that would be kind of an eye rolling thing. But it's kind of like, yeah, yeah, man, all right. Like, yeah, you sort of got me. Like, um,
Yeah.
it's 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 positive enough without being saccharine, and that I think that's a really fine line to walk. And I think this movie nails it pretty well. Um, then we get the two clans are forming a truce to take down Klaus and Jesper. Um, they trick Jesper's dad to think that he has posted 14,000 letters. His dad comes back to congratulate him for duping all these idiots on this island, which obviously doesn't make anybody super happy. Um,
Yeah.
Jesper stays because, of course, he does. And then there's a pretty good scene of Jesper and the two clans getting duped by fake presents. In
Yes. Which
like
we didn't actually mention the cart losing its wheels scene
yep,
with the ambush between the two families, and then they hit that big ass Ram 50, and
yeah,
you know the reindeer and the cargo, which is now a sled,
right.
go flying through the sky, and it's just like, well, there's step 3 of the legend.
Yep, there it is. It's real good. Also, Klaus's really good ho 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 laugh at one point. I
Uh-huh.
like Jester just being like, "Is that really how you laugh?" like, um, yeah, and then there's kind of some fun B story business here in the background where the head of the two clans kids eventually fall in love, kind of in the background. Um,
Hmm.
the daughter and son from the Montagues and the Capulets, um, and we get a happy ending where the presents are delivered, all the kids are happy, the clans sort of stop fighting a little bit, at least for the wedding. Um,
Yes.
Jesper stays. He and Alva get married and raise some kids, which is probably the thing in the movie that I feel like falls down the most, because it just sort of happens. Where it's like, of course she loved me, and it's like, okay, I guess, sure. I mean, sure, I get why not. Um, uh,
Yeah, I mean, that was fine for me. Like
yeah,
it's not a huge deal. Um,
it's a
but
90-minute movie, so like,
is it? Well,
97 minutes. Yeah,
okay.
it's a snappy. My favorite type of movie, a snappy 90-minute movie. That's my
Uh-huh.
jam. Um, but yeah, like everybody's happy. They're delivering presents. Their present operation continues to expand, and we get this kind of really great, quiet, bittersweet scene where on the 12th year, Klaus like follows that magic wispy wind stuff that's sort of popped up in the movie a couple of times, and then just kind of
Come on, that's clearly his wife's spirit.
oh, for
Like
sure.
it
Um,
always points him. It points him towards the kid's drawing. It points
yeah,
him towards Jasper. It points
yep,
him towards the toys. Like
yeah. And then he says like, I'm coming to you, whatever her name is. And he just kind of disappears. And then we get this kind of great bittersweet scene at the end where, every Christmas he gets to meet his friend. And it's credits.
I
There's
like the
also
fact that it brushes it off. Like it's like I don't even try and think about what that means because it's like
yeah, like
it
he doesn't
doesn't
know
kind of
how
make
it
sense.
happens. Yeah, he just gets to see his friend. There's also
Hmm.
a really great scene. I feel like most guys have had this conversation with other guys of like, what do you think about my new mustache? My wife hates it. What do you think? It's just like
Hmm.
that was a really good piece of work that I a little too true to life. Um, but
Yeah, I think it starts with what's that on your face?
right, right, real good. Um, yeah. What did you think of Klaus here?
It was surprisingly great. Like I love like we haven't really talked about it, but the game is beautiful. The movie is beautiful. Like
Really is.
the animation is incredible. Like the lighting in it is incredible. Like everything, it looks so fantastic that like, oh yeah, we did go away from this, didn't we?
Yeah, because like they seem like they spent a lot of time with the film and kind of the engine that drives the film to work on what they called organic and volumetric lighting. And I think it really makes a difference because if you look at Pixar's probably the biggest CG studio. It's like right behind them is DreamWorks. If you look at that, there's a lot of really solid lighting in there, but it's
Hmm.
nothing to the level of this movie where you're like, yeah, wow, man, like everything is so soft, like everything has a really solid texture to it. Like it's really, really well done, and it just looks outstanding. They somehow managed to make this like gray and dreadful island look really good throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, and like the art design is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like the kids look ridiculously cute,
Mm-hmm.
like way too cute. Let's face it.
Yeah. It's kind of impressive because most kids in animated movies are not great looking.
Yeah, all super creepy looking.
Yeah.
Because creepy is the best.
Yeah.
Which I do like the girl with the carrot who is there throughout the entirety of the start of the movie, I believe.
Yep.
The the girl with the carrot is so good.
Mm-hmm. Real
Like
good.
slowly sliding it into everything.
Yep.
It's
Real great.
hilarious.
Yeah. Um yeah, I feel the same. I think this is the only the second time I've watched this. It's a little scary for my kid. My kid's 4. So
Especially at the beginning.
yeah, like there's a lot of it that's like a little too tense. You look at something like Arthur Christmas, and it's like, yeah, that's fine all the way through. Um,
Hmm.
those lions aren't really going to eat them. Um, but something like this is like a little too tense. So this is the second time I've seen it. And I just think it's a really well told story. The soundtrack is really solid. I'm almost never a fan of kids movies that are putting like they like contract a pop star to make a song in this movie and it only plays a minimum of 3 times throughout the film. But
Yeah.
that's the environment. Um,
Yeah. And it's genuinely a cute little movie.
yeah.
Like it's one of those movies where it's like I would but the biggest issue I have.
What was that?
I'm just pausing for a second so that the fire engine, which is literally outside my window, does not come over the microphone.
Okay. You didn't hear anything, so we're good.
Yeah, I was looking at the waveform and be like, okay, good, thanks,
Right.
RTX voice.
Yeah.
Um, it's one of those things where like I I I hate the whole Christmas movies being on repeat thing. Like
Yeah.
there is very, very few of them that I could do that with.
Hmm.
I think like a big American tradition is the Charlie Brown Christmas or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. And Christmas Story too.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But like in England, it's the snowman, and it's like I'm like put this on those channels, not just the same movie over and over and over again. Like
Right.
have a good mix because there is a wider variety of Christmas movies out there than even I give it credit for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's part of the reason why we want to do this short little season was just like, here are some modern Christmas movies that maybe not a lot of people have seen, and they're not, the Hallmark Christmas card movies.
Yeah.
And I think I think the thing that strikes me the most about this movie, and I talked about it at the beginning of the segment, was I feel like in a traditional Christmas movie made by a lot of other studios, it would be Jesper has a change of heart as soon as he sees all these sad kids in town. Just let's make them happy. And he doesn't care. He just wants to get out of there. He doesn't care. He doesn't really want to learn anything. He doesn't want to do anything. He just wants to get back to his like cushy, super privileged life. And through his actions, he sort of accidentally and then on purpose makes the town better. And I think that's
I think the first time he actually notices it and like realizes how good of a thing it is when he makes like the windboard thing for the Sami child.
Yep.
Like that's when he first seems to get it, kind of thing.
Well, and there's a good scene between him and Alva where he's impressed that like all the kids are in school and she really fixed the place up and she spent her life savings to kind of fix it up. And he's like, why would you do that? I thought you were going to leave. And she has a really great line of like, why would you think that anybody would want to leave this town now? He kind of looks around. He's like, ah, crap, I accidentally made this place better. Oh no, I kind of like this place. Oh no. So I think that's kind of one of the reasons why I like this movie is there's a good message at the heart of it, but nobody is like forcefully changing the town. I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it.
It's a nice little movie. And if
Yeah.
you haven't seen it, give it a shot because as someone who hates movies or Christmas movies, it's well worth a try.
Yeah. We got 2 Christmas movies that are pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. And not overly, crap.
Yeah. All right. On that note, thank you very much, everyone, for listening to Season 10 here. We'll see you next time for Season 11. Bye.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.